Good morning, everyone. Welcome to ACC Highland Campus. How many of you remember this as a mall? I'm just curious. Everyone has got a Highland Mall story. We heard a bunch of them yesterday at the ribbon cutting, and it's a lot of fun. What do you think so far about the new campus? Well, you are going to learn so much more about it today. You are going to hear directly from some of the students who take classes here and across the district. And I'd like to introduce to you, first and foremost, the leader of Austin Community College District, our Chancellor, Dr. Richard Rhodes.
Thank you. Thank you, Brett. You know, and one of the things I want to do is introduce one of our Board of Trustee members, Dr. Nora De Hoyos Comstock. Yeah. You know, the trustees are what make us run. Literally. No, we're so glad to have you here at Foot Locker. So, you know, Brett asked how many of you have you been at the mall before? How many of you shopped at the mall before? Wow. More of you shopped at the mall than were at the mall. So let me ask a couple of questions. What was your favorite store? Dillard's? Okay. Men's or women's? Foley's before Macy's, huh? Okay. Well, we're glad to have you here. We hope that you feel like this is home for you, because that's who we are at Austin Community College. We're your home, and this is where you learn. This is where you take the courses necessary to get the skills to make a living wage, to make more money. And so we're glad that you're here. I'm going to just take a few minutes to tell you, kind of give you a brief overview of what's going on at ACC. But then we're going to dive into what I really enjoy the most, and that's having a conversation with our students and hearing directly from our students about what's going on in their lives, but also, you know, where are they in their educational journey, what's been helpful, and can kind of give you some encouragement about the future. So let's get started. So ACC is the #1 choice for higher education in Central Texas. We have more students coming to ACC directly out of high school than any other college in Central Texas. We also, you know, one of the things that's important to us is making sure that ACC is accessible. And that means keeping tuition low. So congratulations to our Board of Trustees. 9 years in a row, they have not raised tuition. So give them a hand. But also it is, with transportation as it is in Central Texas and the Austin area, it's important to have campuses spread throughout. So we have 11 campuses spread throughout our service area. And that's to make it accessible for our population. Also, it is the home of what we call the Accelerator, which is the galaxy's largest learning lab. The galaxy's largest learning lab. And I can say that because my son works for NASA. And he has verified the fact that our accelerator that you can find right here at Highland is the largest in the galaxy. Next, and also we have what's called incubators. Now, you can go to community colleges around the country, and there are over 1,200 community colleges around the United States. And you won't find community colleges that have incubators. Incubators are important for a couple of reasons. One is that it gives small business opportunities to have access to the type of equipment and machinery necessary for them to develop product before they take it to market. And so we have a fashion incubator, and some of you were talking about going to Dillard's or going to Foley's or Macy's. Well, You know, the designs that come out of that can be small business and entrepreneurs who are developing product, but they have to have the equipment that they can't afford to buy to operate and develop product before going to market. So that's one. Bioscience incubator is another one. Advanced manufacturing incubator is another one. And it's important to have those relationships with entrepreneurs. The second piece of that, why it's important, is because it gives our students the opportunity to work with these entrepreneurs and to get paid for it and to get the experience so that when you go out and apply for jobs, you can say, I've got experience and this is what I did working with this entrepreneur, this small business, and developing a product and going to market. So that's important. We also are in the process of having an IT incubator, and so we'll have 4 of those. One thing that also that you won't find in many community colleges is the fact that we offer bachelor's degrees now, and we have 3, and we're going to submit our 4th. But we have 3 bachelor's degrees, so the students can come to ACC and continue with us through a bachelor's degree. And those 3 bachelor's degrees that we have right now are an RN to BSN, so you can get a Bachelor of Science in Nursing right here at ACC and stay with us. Or if you're into software development, you can get a Bachelor's of Applied Science in Software Development. Or if you visited our Impact Lab in Advanced Manufacturing, you can get a Bachelor of Applied Science in Advanced Manufacturing right here with us. So you can get the skill sets necessary and certifications, whether it's through our continuing education programs or through our credit programs, and get those stackable credentials and go into the workforce and work for somebody like Tesla or Samsung or Apple, and then continue your education and get that associate degree, and then get your bachelor's degree right here at ACC. We have faculty who, every time I talk to students, either present students or students who have gone on, they say, and you ask them, you know, what was the most meaningful thing? It's our faculty, our staff. It's the faculty who have real-world experience, who are teaching our students and working and mentoring our students. But it's also those wraparound support services that are by our, student, many of them participate in student government as an example. That's a type of activity that engages students when they're on our campuses and they become a part of us. And so it's important to have those types of student services necessary to keep them engaged and keep them going. And then we have, and we believe this deeply within our souls at ACC, that justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion really matter. And we're dedicated to that in everything that we do. So let's go to the next. So how can you look at all of these pictures and not get excited about the future? Look at every single one of these. And every one of these speaks to the heart and the passion of our faculty and our staff, but it speaks to the heart and the desires that you have to get the skill sets necessary, that find your passion, what you get excited about. And that's what we want. And so look at those pictures and think about that. I mean, whether it's in culinary arts. I was talking to one of our culinary arts students the other day, and so I asked her, so how did you get here? How did you get to ACC, and why are you in culinary arts? And she said, well, actually, I have a degree. I'm an architect. So I have actually a master's degree in architecture. And she said, but my passion is in culinary arts. And so I worked in the field for a while, but I came to ACC to find my passion. And it's like that for many. I was talking to one in the advanced manufacturing, and they had a law degree. But that wasn't what they were excited about. They were excited about manufacturing. That's what turned them on. And so look at this and think about it. And just last night, actually, I was eating at a restaurant, and the server, I started talking to her, and She has a master's degree in performing arts. And she's working at a restaurant. And I said, you would be a great teacher. You need to come to ACC, and you need to work with our students, because she was so fantastic. But that's what we've got to do at ACC. That's what we're concerned about, is bringing the community into ACC and providing what's necessary. We can go to the next one. So I've talked about some of these, the bachelor's degrees. We've got 3 of them, 4 on the way. The 4th one that we're submitting is going to be in cyber technology, cybersecurity. Top ranked program. So when we take a look at our Texas A&M Engineering Academy, allows students to stay right here in Central Texas and not have to go to Texas A&M at College Station. And they can get their first 2 years. And it is, all of the courses that they take are segmented so that it's a true 4-year program. It's not a 6-year program. So they get that along the way. And I was at a meeting about 2 months ago, and Chancellor Sharp from Texas A&M University was at the same meeting. And we were talking to and telling this company that's interested in moving into Central Texas to make this their home base. And a large company that unfortunately I can't tell you who it is. I'm under an NDA. But we're talking to this company. And Chancellor Sharp, right off the bat, he says, we have this great program with ACC. This is a program called Chevron Engineering Program. It allows students to do their first 2 years, get a pre-engineering degree at ACC, guaranteed transfer to Texas A&M to finish their last 2 years. And he says the students who come from ACC out of that engineering program do better than the native entering students at Texas A&M. That they have a higher grade point average and a higher persistence graduation than native entering students at A&M. And some of you probably don't know that we have an accounting program. So if you have a bachelor's degree already, you can take your 36 hours that qualifies you to sit for the CPA exam. We are in the top 10 in the state of Texas for our graduates out of that program passing the CPA exam. Also, when you take a look at our nurses who are graduating from our program with an associate degree, yes, who graduate with an associate degree, and they take what's called the NCLEX to become an RN, a registered nurse. We have one of the highest pass rates in the state of Texas. So we've been averaging about a 95 to 98% pass rate on our students taking the NCLEX and becoming registered nurses. So I've talked about the facilities. Tesla Start. There is something buzzing around in Austin right now, and it's called the Tesla effect. People are excited about what's happening and the opportunities that it brings for higher wages, for employment, and actually for cars. So one other thing that I'll mention off of this is the Army Futures Command. You won't see that at any other institution, college or university, and that is their software factory is physically located with Austin Community College on our Rio Grande campus. And that allows soldiers to work in groups, in teams, to actually deal with real-world problems and address those through software development. The great thing for us at ACC is not only does it bring the soldiers on campus, but it allows our students who are majoring in software development to work collaboratively and to begin to engage in addressing in a team environment real-world problems. And it also, the other advantage is it brings Apple, it brings NI, it brings Samsung, it brings the major corporate partners into the Rio Grande campus. And so it's exciting for our students because that gives them the opportunities to look at the future. that's going to get them. So go to the next slide. And we talked about workforce certificates. How do we get you the certifications necessary to get the skill sets to get a great job? Associate degrees, stackable credentials towards an associate degree. Transfer if your desire, and you'll hear from a couple of our students, if your desire is to transfer to one of our major university partners, we want to help make that happen for you. And then we have the added bachelor's degrees. We're allowed, under legislation, we're allowed to offer up to 5 bachelor's degrees. And so we'll be there pretty soon. So next slide is we're going to get to where I want to be, and that is having a conversation with our students. So let me start with Celaya is our first, and she's active at ACC. She's on student government, Phi Theta Kappa, and tell me your major, communication, and she demonstrated that yesterday. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony yesterday here at ACC, and Celaya had the opportunity to demonstrate her communication skills by being our MC for the event, and she was outstanding. So next is Christine, and Christine is one of those that wants to come to ACC and become a nurse. So she's taking her prerequisites to get into the nursing program, and I can already tell you, I see her in one of our hospitals in the near future, being a success. And then, I don't know where you want to go from there, but Christine's active at ACC and has that drive and desire to be a nurse of the future. And then we've got Joseph, who came to ACC and transferred to the University of Texas, so he's now a student at the University of Texas. And so I was on the UT campus this morning. I ran in the Longhorn 5K on the UT campus early this morning. And so I saw a lot of Longhorns there. But what I really wanted to see is I wanted to see Joseph, instead of wearing the UT, I wanted to see Joseph wearing the ACC.
Jersey switch. Wardrobe change.
That's a good fit.
You know, doesn't he look sharper now?
In full disclosure, I was going to wear a Riverbat shirt, but they gave me a large. I'm sitting about 250, 260 sometimes. I wasn't wearing it.
And then we have Justin, who is active in student government, and he is a government major. And had a great opportunity to visit with him and our student government officers yesterday. And, and I can tell you, having that conversation gives me great encouragement. And, I'm just optimistic about the future because of the leadership that we have at ACC and our students. So thank you. And Chantel, psychology major. And she's going to graduate, I think you told me, this fall. Next fall?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'll be transferring next fall.
Yes. Unfortunately, she's going to be transferring. We'd like to keep all of our students forever, but because they're so great. But she'll be transferring to Texas State University. And so we hope you miss us.
I will. I'll miss this place a lot.
So let's start our conversation. Oh, did I miss something? Okay, I'm good. Okay. So I'm going to sit down here now, and we're going to have a conversation. And I've got a few questions, and then actually think about some questions that you might have for our students, because I'm going to give you the opportunity at the end to ask your own questions of our students. So, first, what brought you to ACC? And I'm going to start with you, Celeste.
I'll take it. So I am not from Texas. I'm actually from Louisiana. And I moved to the Austin area just looking for a place that was really family friendly. Hear me? Is it close enough? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's better.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was saying I'm not from Texas. I'm from Louisiana. And so I moved to the Austin area to thank you. Thank you. Louisiana's amazing. And I moved here to, find new opportunities for myself and my children. And there was a lot of fear for me returning to college. I'd gone once before, and it didn't go as I had thought it was going to go. And I asked a lot of questions about where do we go? I know UT is here. I know Texas State is near. Where do I start? And a friend of mine actually mentioned ACC to me. And where I'm from, the ideal about community college isn't great. So, and I'm sure most people can relate to what people say about community college. So I kind of turned my nose up and I was like, oh no, I can't, I'm not doing that. And she was like, no, look into it, kind of see, what you want to do and just give it a chance. So I started researching online. I was originally a biology major and I realized I didn't like science. So that was an interesting road. And I spoke to an advisor and I was like, look, I can't do the biology program. I just can't. I looked at the degree program and I was depressed because it wasn't something that I liked. I didn't have a passion for it like I thought I did. I'd idealized an image of me becoming a doctor based off of TV shows that I grew up watching, but I didn't have the passion or the drive to do what it would take to become a doctor and go to school, and it's strenuous work, and I knew it wasn't for me. And so she asked me, well, what kinds of things do you do? And I told her I'd gone to cosmetology school and I had helped a friend of mine manage her small business and helped develop her social media accounts and her website. And she was like, great, okay, keep talking. And she was like, so you sound like you're kind of in like the digital media communications realm. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And so the more I talked to her, the more she helped me see how it would fit. And I was like, okay, I'll revisit this conversation. And so I set my heart on UT after some further research, and I was like, okay, if I start a community college, I need to have somewhere where my courses will transfer over. I don't want to run into the problem of paying for courses and then I'm at a loss when I apply. And the thing that really stuck out for ACC as far as I was concerned was UT's website had a transfer guide that was specifically for Austin Community College. And then there was one that's for all others, but ACC had its own, which to me said this would set me up best to continue on my journey. And so I talked about it with my family and my friends, and they all gave me the go-ahead, the green light. And at one point, my apartment complex started a scholarship in response to the pandemic for anybody who wanted to continue their education. And I applied thinking that I wouldn't be selected, and I was. So I had about 2 weeks to get ready for the fall semester. And I got ready, and every class that I've taken since I've come in, I feel has well prepared me to continue. I feel that I'll be graduating next month, and I feel that I'm really prepared and I'm ready to go. I've got experience. I've been able to work alongside the OCRM, which is our Office of College Relations and Marketing, to get some experience, to have these things to talk about. And so for me, that's why I ended up here. It was like, no, there was no question about where I should go.
Awesome. Christine.
Hi, my name is Christine. First, I am grateful to be here and to be able to speak my story with you guys. So I came from an immigrant background. My parents both immigrated here from Vietnam because this was the land of opportunity. And back then during the war era, it was, a given if we could come here. And so they came here, and I grew up with my parents. They did not speak any English, and so growing up, I had to kind of be the spokesperson. I had to speak for them. I had to be the one to ask questions, and I am first generation in my family to graduate high school and even attend college, so to them, that was an incredible achievement. And I chose ACC because I was accepted into a scholarship program called Adults Career Scholars, and it provided me the opportunity that I wouldn't have had otherwise due to financial limitations in order to pursue a career. I'm also a single mom, and so having to take care of the both of us and also all the responsibilities and trying to go to school full time in order to get into ACC's nursing program, it was a lot on my plate, and I know, a lot of people can relate when you think about ACC, when you think about wanting to create a better future and circumstances for yourself and your family. And so that's why I chose ACC, because unlike other universities, I found that all of the staff and the faculty and even your classmates that you meet, the support is indescribable, compared to other places. There are so many opportunities, there are so many resources, and so many people willing to go out of their way to speak to you, to help you, and to provide any support and guidance to move forward. And so that's why I chose ACC, and I'm going to apply to the ADN program. I want to become a registered nurse. And Dr. Rhodes, you said there is an RN to BSN program, and that's what I want to do afterwards. I want to continue my education here and get my bachelor's in nursing.
All right. Joseph.
You got a lot going on. My name's Joseph Hawk, and my whole thing with ACC is I moved up here from Southeast Texas on the border of Texas and Louisiana, so I know a little bit about the Louisiana. But I went to Vandergrift over in Austin, and they had dual credit, and the dual credit, that's my favorite. That's what got me going to ACC. So I knocked out a lot of credits in high school, and I was like, man, I love Austin. Like, I just got here, so I want to stick around. Applied for ACC and went to the Highland campus. I went to the Rio Grande campus. I was all over, but really the people, like the professors here, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm over at UT now, and I'm like sitting there, sometimes I'm nodding off, sometimes I'm not. But, yeah, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say that, but over here, like, I still have so many professors that I love, like Professora Klein Hands. I'm taking Spanish with her, Spanish 4. Still, like, she's amazing. And they really work with you. Over at UT, you can have like a classroom of 250 people. Well, here, you can have a class with 20 people, and as soon as you walk in that door, the professor's going to be like, how are you doing, Joseph? What's going on? And I looked over your homework, and they're just really willing to help. Everybody's super friendly. So that's why I came here.
Hey, Joseph. All right. Justin.
How you doing, everybody? I'm glad to hear it. My name is Justin Parker. I came here to ACC separating out of the United States Navy. I was stationed in Newport, Rhode Island at the time, and my thought process was, okay, I know I want to go back to school, because originally I felt like I had ran away from pursuing my education. And it was like, while I was in the military, I kept on getting reminded of my passion, and that was for government and to make change in our communities. And one of my biggest questions that I had when I was looking at schools was, what school provides that community support? And ACC provided so much support. It was like, so many people were telling me, start off at community college, start off at community college. And I always wondered why. Just like how a lot of people say, community college, sometimes it gets frowned upon. But I can say that definitely during my time here, I have never regretted that decision on coming to ACC. Every advisor I've met with, every professor I've met with has been truly amazing and has been truly helpful in guiding me in my process and continuing here at ACC.
Hi, everybody. So what brought me to ACC? Similar to Celia, I'm a non-traditional student, and I didn't have a great first go around with my first community college experience. I got kind of lost in my community college experience, didn't really know what direction I was headed. I picked a major and I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick with that. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but I'm picking this. Ironically, it was still psychology. I just didn't have a clear direction as to where I wanted to go. I realized I was awful at math, and that's kind of where I got lost in my community college experience was I wasn't able to pass my math class, college algebra. And so I kind of stepped away from college and I said, I'm gonna take a different direction. So I went into the workforce. I've actually been in veterinary medicine as a vet assistant for the past 8 years. It's been an amazing experience, and I've decided that I wanna continue my path into medicine, potentially human medicine, but maybe also vet medicine. When I decided that I wanted to come back to school, I realized I was idling and I wasn't really going anywhere. So I was like, I think I'm ready to try this again. So I went back to, I think I went online, I applied, and I have only had a positive experience since dealing with all of the advisors and professors at ACC, particularly with my math professors. They kind of let me know that they had similar experiences with their math careers, and I really identified with them. And I was like, you know what, I think that I can do this. And I passed my developmental math class, and then I passed college algebra, and I passed them with A's. And I was like, that was my hurdle. So I guess I'm going up from here. And that's when I decided that I did want to pursue medicine, that I was gonna become a pre-med student, that I was gonna finish my psychology degree. I was gonna get my bachelor's, but my bachelor's wasn't gonna be my hurdle. My hurdle was going to be taking the MCAT. My hurdle was going to be deciding what I'm going to fill my activity sections with on my application. Those were my new hurdles. Those were the new things that I was thinking of. It wasn't what's gonna happen to me after ACC, it's what's gonna happen to me after I get that bachelor's degree, because I'm gonna get it. ACC gave me that confidence, and what brought me here was essentially wanting to try it over and giving community college a second chance. And when I did that, I made the right decision by coming here. It was kind of like a happy accident, so.
So let me start this time with Christine. And so what surprised you most when you came to ACC as a student?
What surprised me most was how involved my professors were. Like Joseph said, you know, you go to class on the first day, and the next class, they know exactly who you are, what your name is, and what you may potentially be majoring in. And I think that is what stood out to me. The next thing was all of the resources. So growing up, again, my parents had no clue. You know, they would drop me off to school and then be like, all right, bye. And so when it came to finding resources, whether it was for them, whether it was for us, whether if it was for me, I knew that I had to be resourceful. And with technology at the palm of our hand, I found that ACC has so many resources. That's how I came across the Adults Career Scholars. They give you $5,000 a semester for over 3 years. And so for an associate's degree, typically, right, it would take 2 years, but because they understand that so many people like myself, we all have responsibilities, right? As we grow older, we finish high school, then it's life, then it hits you. And sometimes going to school and getting that education, it's on the plate, right? It's a priority, but it's not the top priority because you can't do everything at once. And so what surprised me with ACC is that they understand that, and they account for that, and they provide additional resources. They have an emergency fund for if you're a student here and life happens, you can apply for that, you can get money for that. They have daycare assistance for when, right now I'm in 2 biology courses, and it's at home and it's online, and my 2-year-old is running up and down and trying to climb on me. That can't happen, you know, and they provide daycare assistance with so many places nearby, close to you, where you can drop off your child so that you can come home and you have time to focus and really do what it takes to further your education and better your circumstances. And so that is one of the best things about ACC, is that it's ongoing. There's more and more resources by the week, right? You know, anything that comes up, COVID happened, there was a grant where everybody was getting, money to help, because that's what ACC is about. It is a community. And in order for our community to function, we all have to work together to uplift one another.
Great. Thank you, Christine.
So to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying, I got 2 things. I got resources and degree plans. So the resources for me, like the accelerator, I would go there after every math class. I took contemporary math, and I would go print out my homework, and then there would also be somebody there to help me with it, and I needed that help. So it was good. Just that, even my guidance counselors were the best here, the whole thing. And then the degree plans, for instance, so I play country music, and I was looking at the degrees at ACC, and at ACC you can actually get a degree where it'll teach you how to be like a live sound tech, or like real jobs in Austin, pretty much. So at ACC, you can go and learn about what you really are gonna be doing. And you find out a lot of these big universities, for instance, like with music, if you wanna get a music degree at a big university, a lot of times you gotta like learn how to play the cello. And that's not necessarily what I wanna do. So it's just really cool that they really do have degree plans that like are exactly what you wanna do. So you're going to college and it's going towards what you're going to be doing once you graduate.
All right. Great. Justin.
I want to piggyback off of what both of y'all said. Resources. The amount of resources that ACC has to offer definitely surprised me. And not just like what the college gives you, but the resources that your professors also connect you with. And it was incredible, because when I first started here at ACC, I started off in this COVID environment, and I did not know the on-campus experience. I did not start learning that until this semester. But while online, my professors constantly reached out to me, checked up on me. If I didn't respond back to the email, they called me and were like, "Hey, are you doing okay?" And so that type of support is what definitely surprised me here, and especially like my classmates and so many different colleagues that I'm in organizations with. They have really surprised me with showing that they really care and they really support you and everything that you do here.
Great. Chantal, I'm going to ask you a different question. So what advice would you give to anybody who's thinking about going to college?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah. We got you.
What advice I would give? I think community college is an amazing place to start. I think there's this big stigma around starting at community college, and I think that most people don't know that they need to start here sometimes. I think there's this prestige that comes with going immediately to a 4-year university, but when you come to a 2-year college, community college, it's exactly what it says. There's community here. So there's more personability with your professors, and if you're nervous about starting your college journey or you're apprehensive, I think that community college is exactly the place that you need to be in order to connect with peers, get involved, with student government or honor student organizations, or if you just want to be part of a committee for something, or you have a really difficult time breaking out of your shell, community college is going to be an amazing place for you to start. So I would say that that's my biggest piece of advice if you're thinking or considering going to college, going to a community college, or restarting your educational journey. Community college is you're probably not going to have any regrets starting someplace like ACC.
Great. Salaya, same question. What advice?
So for me, it's hard for me to answer this question without thinking about myself. So my biggest piece of advice would be to give yourself the chance, especially if it was a student like myself or like Chantel who's done it before and it maybe didn't go as well. You have to give yourself the opportunity and the space and the grace to grow and learn from maybe where you didn't get it right the first time. I absolutely did not get it right the first time. But it took me a while, and it took somebody saying these words to me: give yourself the chance. You have to, allow yourself to fly. You miss 100%, of the shots you don't take. And I was guaranteeing myself that I wasn't going to be successful by not pursuing anything and not giving myself the space to at least try. So for me, if I were to speak to a student, my biggest piece of advice would be to try to, bet on yourself, right? You are always going to be your best product. So bet on yourself, give yourself the chance, and learn from wherever you fall down and just get back up.
Great. Okay. Now I'm going to open it up for the audience to ask questions of our students.
Any questions? You guys have the experts right here. Okay, this is where I run and hopefully don't fall.
Thank you. Hey, happy Saturday. Thank you guys for sharing your stories. And I feel proud to be a part of this ACC family. My question is, I noticed each of you talked about the resources. ACC is resource rich. I wanted to just have any one of you guys talk about how you felt going to get those resources, because I realize it's hard for students to ask for help, even though the resources are there saying, I want to help, I want to help. How did you do whatever you needed to do to go and get that help that the resources provide? And thank you in advance.
Thank you for that question. So I would like to start with the Adults Career Scholars. So I was on the ACC homepage, and one of the thumbnails appeared, and it said, apply here. And I was like, what is this? So I clicked on it, and the first thing that popped up was like $5,000 in bold. And it was like for 3 years, like all yours, for tuition and books. And I thought to myself, you think, whenever you apply for the FAFSA or you apply for scholarships, it takes so much time. And sometimes you think, oh, other people are more qualified. Other people have already applied. Maybe it was a first come, first serve. I'm not going to get it. But I applied anyways because I had no choice. I applied, and I actually did not get a response back. There was no confirmation. I didn't see anything, but I knew I submitted it. And the next step that I took was I went back to that website, to the Adults Career Scholars on ACC, and I saw that there was a name and a contact information. And that's sometimes what you have to do to see if you can go that extra step, if it's something that you really want. And so I found the contact person, and her name is Audit, and she's in charge of Adults Career Scholars, and her email happened to be on there. And so I logged onto my ACC email, and I sent her an email, and I just wanted to follow up, in regards to my application, if it was received, if there was anything that I could provide. And I found that whenever she responded back, there was another button. And this is because of COVID. Now they do like appointments virtually, right? And so I set up an appointment with her, and I've never met her. We've never spoken. And when I got to talk to her, I said, "Hi, my name is Christine." I told her that I applied, and that was how I was able to get the Adults Career Scholarship, because I went that extra mile. And I think sometimes you have to do that. You know, you apply for a job, you don't hear back. What are you gonna do next? Are you just gonna, forget about it? You have to go that extra mile sometimes. And that would be my biggest advice as well, is that your thoughts become your reality. Your thoughts become things. And if you tell yourself, I can do this, I will do this, how can I do this? What are the steps that I need to take? Even if it's an extra mile, it's worth it, because like you said, it's for you, it's for your education, it's for your future.
I'm ready to lift some weights or something after that. I feel so motivated.
And I'm going to just piggyback off of Christine. So you asked how we felt when looking for resources. If I'm being honest, I was embarrassed. I knew that I needed childcare for my children. I knew that I had to work, and I knew that I had to go to school and all these things. And I was not, and still am not to an extent, comfortable or accustomed to asking for help. I'd gotten so used to being a single mother, which I'm sure you can relate. I do it a lot on my own, and I can make these things happen. So I was embarrassed. I didn't really want to ask for help. Knew I needed it, but didn't want to ask, didn't know how to ask. And I had shared with an advisor, what I was struggling with. And my fear was that, I have little kids running in the background at home. How am I going to take these classes online? And she connected me with what's called a special populations advocate. And that person reached out to me and was like, "Hey, Celia, this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to help you," and sent me a laundry list of links. This is this, and this is that. And one of those was the child care scholarship. So I applied, and I really didn't have any idea what that would look like if I got it. And then I got an email that said, "Hey, we're awarding you this, so your next step is to figure out where you want your kids to go, and just get this paperwork filled out and send it back, and we're good." And so I was a little daunted, and I was like, okay, this is a little easy. I expected there to be a lot of red tape and a lot of doors. And that person never once judged me. I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel like I shouldn't be asking for help, or like, you're a mother, you should have it together. But these are the things that I had created in my own mind about asking for help. And so she, pushed me through all of that, and it's something that I utilize to this day. I dropped my kids off this morning to the place that ACC helps me out with. So it has been amazing. It has helped me so much. And additionally, this semester, I was in my vehicle, and it broke down while I was in it, and I was terrified in the minute. Thankfully, my kids were not with me, but I didn't have a car, and that was an issue. I have 2 children, and I have to work, and I have to go to school, and this was the first semester, like Justin, that I had to take an in-person class. So I was like, great, this is excellent. Life threw that curveball. And I reached out again to my special populations advocate, very embarrassed, but also very distraught and upset. And I was like, hey, I don't even know how to say this. I'm sure my email was a bunch of mumbo jumbo because I was trying to type so fast to get it out. And she was immediately like, you need to apply for the emergency fund. And she said, I'd gotten a grant for something else, and typically with the way the rules are, maybe you won't, but she was going to talk to the person who reviews all those applications. And within, I think, maybe a few hours, I heard back from that person, and then the next morning, they were like, hey, we're dropping this money to you for your new car, yada, yada, and I used that money to get a down payment, and now I have a new car. Within, I think it took me about 2 weeks to get a new vehicle. So I learned not to be embarrassed and just to be honest, because there are people here to help me. So it started off on rocky ground. I wasn't comfortable, but I'm 100% glad that I reached out, and 100% glad that ACC was here to help me.
Dr. Rhodes, the word that comes to mind is persistence, right? With our students, the persistence that you guys exhibit, and the work and the drive and the commitment, it's fabulous. It is so exciting. When you work at ACC, you just kind of get inspired by it. It's really neat. I have a question for you.
All right.
Okay.
I was
ready?
afraid you would.
So we're here in this brand new incredible campus, right? And you guys are going to hopefully get out right after this and go get a tour of all the spaces that are here and go find your purpose and your passion. With that in mind, what's your favorite spot at ACC Highland?
You know, it depends on how hungry I am. You know, culinary arts is great when you're hungry. But every single place I go, what amazes me is the passion of our faculty and our staff, you know, to talk about what's in their area. And so every time I walk through the entire place, if I were a student, I probably would have changed my major 16 times because every one of those faculty members talking about like music and music business. And I think, you know, back in the day, I used to play a saxophone. And I didn't pursue that for very long. And but you know, if I had this opportunity, maybe I would have. Or then I go to the Impact Lab and I look at the advanced manufacturing and I think, you know, at one point in time I wanted to be an engineer. And by golly, you know, if I could go to work for Tesla right now and use robotics, I think I would be a happy man. And so it's just like every place you go, you think, wow, I'd love to be in that area. So I don't have a favorite child here. I love everything that we're doing because everybody has a different passion. And finding that is what we're all about.
Thank you. Perfect answer, by the way. No favorite children. We have time for one more question. No questions? Real quickly, just curious, favorite spot in Highland?
That would be the multi-million-dollar recording studio.
Oh.
You know, they got I don't know how many channels are on that board, but I mean, you could record an orchestra in there. So that's my favorite spot. I do have favorites. I'm not the chancellor, so I can, you know.
Joseph, I think we need to record you in there. You are a musician.
Let's go.
I'm going to tell you one of my favorite spots because I didn't even know we had it, and it's the podcast booth. Y'all, ACC has the very first podcast certificate. You can learn how to put together a podcast. You can perform a podcast. You can produce it. You can do the business behind it. You can sell it and all of that. And when you're walking around, you'll see the podcast booth. It's really cool. Dr. Rhodes, thank you very much. Any parting words?
We want you to take advantage of everything that's here. We want this to be your home. You know, and what you've heard is the support services are here for you. The faculty are here for you. The facilities are here for you. We want you here. We believe in you, and we believe in your success, and we want to help you get there. And I want to say thank you to our student panel. Aren't they amazing? You know, every time I talk to our students, I get inspired. You know, and that just, it's the courage because, you know, when I look at each one of these students, there is a different story. And like you, there is a different story behind every single one of us. And, you know, it has courage, it takes courage to say life gets in the way and I need some help. And that's exactly what you hear here. And so thank you for your honesty, your courage, and your transparency with us today. So go forth, prosper, and continue to make us proud.
Thank you.
And with that, I think it's time to go see ACC Highland, y'all. Go enjoy, and we will be down here. If you have any questions, you want to come down, meet Dr. Rhodes, or visit for a minute with our students, we'll be here. Thank you very much for being here today.